Hello, welcome back to JankTech. It's my series on Star Wars Unlimited where we talk about twin suns, alternate formats, all sorts of wonky card combos that you don't get to do in regular Premiere play. This is the third video in my series in my double aspect week. I know it's been a long week, more than 7 days, whatever. Before we get it started, I just wanted to remind y'all if you could please like and subscribe. Like my little boba is going to threaten you with disintegrations if you don't do. I really appreciate this. I love making these. Y'all have been watching them and talking to me about Star Wars. This has been awesome. So let's keep it going. If you want to do any more talking with people about Star Wars, please join the swupdx Discord. There will be a link down in the description next to my deck links, of course. Like all the rest of these double aspect decks, there's not going to be a budget version, but like I have been saying, in these, I will be putting out a video fairly soon that shows you how to do budget versions of decks so you can make appropriate substitutions when necessary. I will still be doing one more of these particular videos for Double Aspect Week because we haven't done aggression yet. And of course, I will be expanding my Learn to Play decks to 80 cards now that everyone is sort of settled with JTL and ready to move on into the big leagues. So with all that out of the way, what do we have today for our double command deck? Bounty hunters, we actually do need that scum, aka big discounts, everything must go. Oh my gosh. So this is command green, which is very analogous to green in Magic the Gathering. I know we said it again, I'm so sorry. Command, what does command do? It's 4 double green. Choose 2 in any order. Give 2 experience tokens to a unit. A friendly unit deals damage equal to its power to a non-unique enemy unit. Put this event into play as a resource. Return a unit from your discard pile to your hand. So, command is essentially we want to, well, it's the ramp aspect first and foremost, which we have to do in this deck in order to play the things that we need. So every way of ramping is in here. The term ramp also comes from Magic. It basically means that you are spending your time to somehow get more resources out than everyone else. It means your early game is going to be a little compromised because you're spending your earlier turn plays on playing things that don't really do much to advance your board state in the moment, but they allow you to play bigger things before other people and hopefully take control of the board back from everyone else. Once you get those bigger things out, that means you can deploy your big chonkus leaders like Jabba a little bit earlier, which is great. What else? The friendly unit deals damage equal to its power to a non-unique enemy unit. Removal with this aspect is kind of harder than some of the other ones. As we've already seen, cunning removal means tapping stuff down. It means returning stuff to somebody's hand. Vigilance removal means just flat out defeating something. It's a little bit harder to do removal with command. So it's usually deals damage equal to power to something, which we'll see in cards like Overwhelming Barrage. And it also is a lot of capture. So that's kind of why we went with a bounty hunter sub-theme in this deck, because I think that helps us keep on track with the board state and not letting other people get too out of hand compared to us, because we're still going to capture their stuff. We're going to remove it as good as we can. Command is also seen as like the graveyard recursion aspect in this game, which is the return a unit from your discard pile to your hand. We will have some things that allow us to play out of unconventional places, which is something command likes us to do. And then lastly, giving experience tokens to a thing. This deck's not super big into it, but generally, if you're playing a deck with command, that's what's going to allow you to put experience on something. Of course, the Tarkin leader from the first set is a prime example of this, but there are so many other cards in command in green that allow you to do this. So what are we doing with bounty hunters? We actually do need that scum. This, of course, is a reference to that line, I believe said by Piett in Empire Strikes Back, when Vader is trying to get everyone to go after the Falcon. So what does this mean? Well, it means that Piett is going to be working together with the scum in order to advance his own nefarious goals of playing capital ships for cheap. So let's talk about our leaders here. Piett, as an action, exhaust him, play a capital ship unit from your hand. It costs 1 less. He deploys at 5. And when he deploys, he is a 2/7 and says each capital ship unit you play costs 2 less. This part doesn't care about playing it from your hand. So if you're able to play a capital ship from somewhere not in your hand, then it still gets discounted with Piett. I may slip up and call him Piety once in a while. That is, somebody made a spelling mistake on Reddit when this card was first spoiled and it kind of stuck. Okay, so we've got Piett, and then we're playing him with Jabba. Jabba says, action, exhaust him, choose a unit. For this phase, it gains bounty. The next unit you play this phase costs 1 less. Jabba deploys at 7 resources. Oh my gosh, that's so much. When he deploys, he is a 2/12. He's got such a big butt. Huts have the biggest butts. What have I said before? Huts have the biggest butts. And this is like the biggest butt of them all. Oh my gosh, a 12. Are you kidding me? When deployed, another friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit. Action, exhaust him, choose a unit. For this phase, it gains bounty. The next unit you play this phase costs 2 less. In theory, you can get a triple discount on Jabba's deploy turn on something, as well as a 2 discount from Piett on something. So these stacking discounts are difficult to get, but if you are able to politic your way through everything and play your cards right, then I think it is possible. So in the spirit of the command aspect, we are going to be doing anything that we can to get more resources faster than everyone else. That is going to be ramping. And there's going to be some fun little surprises in here, which is why we picked yellow as the other aspect, because yellow empowers bounty hunters the most. It empowers capture the most. And it just gives us some other sneaky ways of getting things out under costed. So I felt like this worked the best with our command and helps us do the command things that we're trying to do. Because again, with these double aspect decks, I feel like these cards exemplify a lot of what the deck is about. So let's get into it. We got 80 cards. We got 31 ground units. We're in Mos Eisley because come on, we could be in Jabba's palace, but Jabba's crime reach extends far beyond, all across Tatooine. Okay, let's get into it. We got Greedo, slow on the draw. So there's this, it's thematic. Okay, Greedo works for Jabba. He's a 3/1. When defeated, you may discard a card from your deck. If it's not a unit, deal 2 damage to a ground unit. He gives us a little bit of removal. He's cheap. He's a bounty hunter. Does all kinds of great stuff. Salacious Crumb, come on. You play Jabba, you play Salacious. It's a 1/3. When played, heal 1 damage from your base. And also, you have to do the... like, you have to. If you're not doing that, come on, what are you doing with your life? Action, exhaust him, return this unit to his owner's hand, deal 1 damage to a ground unit. So he's good at putting little ping damage on things and healing us. Since we're playing the long game here, a little bit of healing is good. We want to push late game with this deck. It's a ramp deck. We're all about getting out these big ships. We're all about getting out these big units. And if we can manage to do that, great. And every 1 damage we heal from the base is just super helpful. Of course, Piett's in here. Piett's in his own deck. He works so well with his unit's ability to get big stuff out. So he's a 1/4. Each friendly non-leader unit that costs 6 or more gains ambush. That's awesome. That means most of these big chonkus capital ships that you play are going to have ambush. B1 security team. It's a cheap sentinel. Again, every video I say this, sentinels are so good at discouraging people from attacking you. This one's no exception. It hits back a lot. It's very vulnerable to being taken out by something like Asajj's ping ability. But if someone only can get rid of it by running another unit into it, it's probably going to die too early game. Love these guys. We got Bib Fortuna. You're playing Jabba, you got to play Bib Fortuna. This is a huge reason also for the yellow, because so much yellow stuff is so thematically wonderful with Jabba. But I think mechanically Bib Fortuna works really well too. He is a 1/3. He's shielded. Action, exhaust him, play an event from your hand. It costs 1 less. So we have some events that will help us do the ramping sorts of things we want to do. Bib Fortuna is going to help get us there if he survives. And also, it's one of those cards you play it and you're like, "Day Warawanga," and everyone's like, oh my god, can you stop with your Star Warsness? We got the Gamorrean Retainer. It's a 3/2. While we control another command unit, another green unit, this gains Sentinel. Come on, y'all. We're playing Jabba. We got to have the Gamorreans, but they serve an important function of being some Sentinels that I look at this in lore as them being kind of spineless. And it's like, okay, in a big group, they're fine. So they're like, okay, as long as we're with somebody else, we can be fine being Sentinels, but we're not going to be Sentinels otherwise. Moss and meta. Great. This is our first double green card in here. Moss is so good in this deck. He is a 0/4 for 2 double green. When you play another unit, you may exhaust this unit. If you do, search the top 4 cards of your deck for a unit, reveal it, and draw it. So he helps you go through your deck. He helps you pull out these capital ships that you're going to want, and he helps you pull out the bounty hunters that are going to kill other guys. He just helps you get what you need when you need it. And if we can get him together with Salacious and play Salacious every single turn, then this is a really good loop for helping us to get the units that we need when we need them. We got the Cell Block Guard. Of course, the Cell Block Guard, early Sentinel, keeps us safe early on, helps us ramp and not get hurt too much when we're ramping. The Contracted Hunter. I love this guy. It's a 4/4 with ambush, but when the regroup phase starts, defeat it. Well, guess what? A 4/4 with ambush is big enough to take something out and not feel too bad about it dying at the end, at the start of the regroup phase. Like, obviously, it would be nice if the Contracted Hunter could stick around, but, you know, short of playing a Kazuda deck, that's likely not going to happen. And I think this guy is going to do enough for us to get our money's worth. It's worth noting, too, in this deck, we are running McClunky, so we can't always McClunky it back after playing it to deal damage to something else. There's a lot of Underworld stuff in this deck, so I think that works out really good. And speaking of Underworld, we have DJ. DJ, you play him either for 3 as a 3/5. No one's doing that. You smuggle him in for 7 yellow. When played using smuggle, take control of an enemy resource. When this unit leaves play, that resource's owner takes control of it. DJ is sort of a soft ramp. And okay, yeah, I bet y'all saw this coming. We have DJ and we have Tech. That's right. This deck is the stupid DJ Tech combo that Yellow Han has been using to tear up the meta or whatever. So if you can manage to get DJ and Tech together, and if you're not familiar with this, we're going to skip ahead to Tech. We'll come back. Don't worry. Tech is 3 heroism. So Tech costs 5 for us to get out, or 6 for us to smuggle out. But he's a 2/5. Each friendly resource gains smuggle. The gained smuggle cost is that card's cost plus 2 and its aspect icons. So once Tech is out, we can smuggle DJ out for only 5 because it checks 3 yellow plus 2. So that essentially gives us a 4 discount off of his normally unobtainably large smuggle cost, especially since it's somewhat out of aspect in this deck. This makes a huge difference at the point where we are able to do it, because that will allow us to get up into leader deploying territory. That will let us de-ramp someone else. So if we see someone about ready to deploy their leaders, you're just like, nope, that resource is mine. We're just going to take it with DJ. It's kind of a feels bad man move, but I don't think anyone's going to see it coming, at least not the first time you play this deck. And I think that is super, super fun. Frontier Trader. It's a 2/2 Jawa. Please give me more Jawas, y'all. Oh my gosh. When played, you may return a resource you control to its owner's hand. If you do, you may put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. So this just gives you some flexibility in terms of maybe you had to resource something earlier that you need in order to make one of your ramp combos work. If you played a super laser technician earlier, killed it, ramped with it, well, you can get it back, put the top card of your deck into play as a resource, and then play it again and kill it to ramp again. You can do this with a lot of your ramp cards in this deck, so I think the Frontier Trader is really useful at getting you just a little bit of extra juice in the tank for getting to playing those big things later on. Hunter of the Haxian Brood. It's a 4/3 Underworld Bounty Hunter. While an enemy unit has a bounty, this unit gains Shielded. Who's going to give things a bounty? Java's going to give things a bounty. That's right. So guaranteed you can get this guy in with a shield, and a 4/3 for 3 with a shield. Pretty good, y'all. Reputable Hunter, it's a 3/4. If an enemy unit has a bounty, this unit costs 1 less to play. Again, Jabba lets you play this on turn 1. This is a deck we always want to go after everyone else so we can maximize our chances of getting bounties on stuff and actually collecting them in order to discount our capital ships. So if we can get our Jabba bounty to fire off and combine it with Piett's ability, this is absolutely ideal for this deck. So if you ever have to do a little bit of dirtling with this deck, and by dirtling, I mean doing nothing actions on your turn to make sure that you end up later in the rotation, you can always use Jabba to put a bounty on something that you don't see anyone else being able to collect, if that makes a difference with getting you last in turn order for the next round. I know it feels weird to say you kind of want to avoid being first with this, but this is definitely more of a slow reactive deck. I feel like people aren't going to treat this deck as much of a threat early on, because we're not going to try to play as many units early on. Obviously, we want to have somewhat of a board state, but we're going to look less threatening than other people until we can get our ramp going on. And then we just play a bunch of chonkuses and it's going to be unpleasant for everyone else. Anyway, Super Laser Technician. It's 2/1. When defeated, you may put this unit into play as a resource and ready it. That's awesome. Like, of course, we're going to play the Super Laser Technician. And like I said earlier, we can use... where are you? Where are you? We can use the Frontier Trader to get it back and ramp with it again. We can use tech to smuggle out the Super Laser Technician, which again gets replaced with the top card of your deck, and play it again. So there's a few ways of reusing our things in here to hopefully actually achieve maximum ramp. Okay, we went over tech already. Tech is great. I think tech is worth paying the aspect tax for in this deck, especially if you've already ramped on an earlier turn. Toro Calican. He's a 3/5. When you play another bounty hunter unit, and there's a lot of them in this deck, you may deal 1 damage to it. If you do, ready this unit. Use this ability only once each round. So getting to attack twice with Toro in a turn is pretty good, especially if you are playing bounty hunters that have relatively big butts and can afford to take that damage. But it's not the worst thing for you to say, well, maybe I play a Greedo, deal damage to Greedo, to try to deal damage to something else to also ready Toro. I mean, you've got some options here. But the other cool thing about Toro is, well, maybe you play him with the contracted hunter. This guy's going to die anyway. So getting a damage dealt to it before it ambushes into something is fine, because these are both, this is a when you play a bounty hunter unit, ambush is a when played. So we can say we'll do the damage and then we'll ambush. Boom, boom, boom. Everything's fine. Toro gets the swing again. 4 LOM. It's another bounty hunter. It's got ambush and makes his buddy Zuckuss better. They're just so cute together. What can I say? So yeah, of course we have Zuckuss later in this deck. We got Bossk, the new Bossk pilot. He's a 4/4 for 4 on attack. Exhaust the defender and deal 1 damage to it if it's a unit. Piloting, attached unit gains on attack, exhaust the defender, and deal 1 damage to it if it's a unit, and gives +2/+2. So Bossk is good at helping to kill things a little bit faster. It makes your ships better for not too much, but it's also like you get a little flexibility when you need it. I'm going to throw in a quick pause, y'all. I'll be right back. And I am back. All right, it's like it never happened. Yeah, my wife just got home, so, you know, everyone had to go make them feel special. Like, especially the dog. The dog always makes everyone feel special when they come home. Anyway, Bossk is great, nice and flexible. Another bounty hunter, yada yada. You get it. All right, Chain Code Collector. It's a 4/2 with ambush on attack. If the defender has a bounty, it gets -4 and -0 for this attack. Great. Java can put a bounty on something. Chain Code Collector can kill it. And we can get a discount on playing, I don't know, Salacious Crumb again. I think it's great having those bounty hunters in there, all sort of enabling themselves and working together with Jabba's bounty. I really hope we get more bounty stuff in later sets. I thought it was such a cool part of Shadows. Okay, we got a double green card. It's the Enterprising Lackeys. It's a 5/5. When defeated, you may defeat a friendly resource. If you do, put this unit into play as a resource, and then you can smuggle it in for 6. I love the Enterprising Lackeys. Of course, it's a bunch of weakways. We know that Jabba's palace is rife with weakways, and we gotta have some weakways in this deck. This thing is like unkillable, y'all. It's a 5/5 for 4 that keeps coming back, and even playing it at 6 doesn't feel too bad. And again, I say this all the time, Smuggle gives you the flexibility to play things when you need them. So this is a card you're not going to feel bad about resourcing earlier, especially because you can play it later. And because it's within our double aspects, then it's not going to feel like you're breaking the bank to do it. The other Gamorrean guards, it's a 4/4. Will you control another yellow unit? This unit gains Sentinel. We've got a pretty good amount of yellow units in here. I feel like this deck is fairly split between yellow and green. It's not like the Asajj Krennic deck that I did recently where it was very overwhelmingly blue. So I think you still have a good chance at getting your Gamorreans to Sentinelize and keep you safe while you're trying to ramp and get big stuff. Bossk. Yeah, we've got more Bossk in here. We're going to put as much Bossk as we can in here, baby. It's a 4/5. It's got Ambush. When you play an event, you may deal 2 damage to a unit. We are hopefully going to be playing events in this deck too. We've got 22 of them. And Bossk is just going to get us a little bit more juice for our squeeze here. He's probably not going to live too long because of how much damage he can do, especially if we McClunky when we have Bossk out. But it's just going to, again, be useful in doing some quick removal, in getting us another bounty hunter out, in just doing something to clear something away right when he comes out and make us safe so that we can play our big stuff in a little bit. Because as you can see by our cost curve, we're getting towards our more expensive units here. Discerning Veteran, it's another bounty hunter. It's a 3/4. When played, captures an enemy non-leader ground unit. Just gets rid of something. And like I say about capture in these Twin Suns videos, it's more permanent removal in this format than it is in Premier because you have 2 other people at the table that want that unit gone and have a vested interest in keeping it gone. And again, we got Ephant Mon, head of security. He's Jabba's buddy. He's got to be in Jabba's deck. He's a 4/6 on attack. Choose an enemy non-leader unit that attacked your base this phase. A friendly unit in the same arena captures that unit. So we can use Ephant Mon to get rid of things that are problematic, and he will likely survive a little bit longer because this is Twin Suns. We also love the fact that we might be able to get him out on a discount using Jabba's bounty ability. That's just gravy if we can do that. I think Ephant Mon is good for the longer game that we're trying to play. It's okay that he doesn't do his ability immediately because hopefully by the time we've played this guy, we've ramped at least once because we've got a bunch of different ramping options and we'll be ahead of everyone else's curve a little bit. Okay, we had 4 LOM. We got to have Zuckuss. He's a 6/6 with Saboteur, and 4 LOMs get +1/+1 and gain Saboteur. Saboteur, also great in Twin Suns, because if people are playing Sentinels, then Saboteur lets you slip through and get to them. And of course, thematically, we've got all these bounty hunters. You got to put Zuckuss in if you're putting 4 LOM in. And if you've got 4 LOM and Zuckuss and Toro, they all work so well together. And if you're looking at these thinking, where's Boba Fett Disintegrator? The answer is that card is expensive and I don't own it. So, you know, if anybody wants to give me a Boba Fett Disintegrator, I will not say no, and I would have happily put it in this deck. So you can consider that another thing that would have gone in here because it would have worked super well with everything else that we're doing. Bounty Hunter Crew, it's a 4/4 with Ambush. When played, you may return an event from a discard pile to its owner's hand. Likely it's going to be one of our events if we had to McClunky earlier, if we had to, let's see, if we dogfight from earlier, there's so many different things that we could have used that we would like to get back. So I think that the Bounty Hunter Crew is so good at doing that for us. At 7, we got Cad Bane. Come on, Cad Bane is so awesome. He is a 7/7. He's a bounty hunter. He's Underworld. When played, he captures up to 3 enemy non-leader units with a total of 8 or less remaining HP. That cat is going absolutely bonkers behind me, and I love it. On attack, the defending player may rescue a card they own guarded by this unit. If they do, draw 2 cards. So you have the flexibility with Cad Bane. If he lives long enough to come back around to attack, then you don't have to attack somebody that you own, that you've captured the units of. You can attack somebody that you don't have anyone's stuff of, which means that stuff will stay captured. You don't get to draw cards, but it stays off the board. So you've got some fun options to think about with him. We got Darth Vader at 7. He's a 5/7 with ambush. When played, search the top 10 cards of your deck for any number of villain units with combined cost 3 or less and play each of them for free. There's a lot of great stuff that you can do with Vader. If you, for some reason, haven't gotten your Super Laser Technician, you can get that. You can get the Cell Block Guard. You can get Piett if you want to give a big chonkus thing ambush. You can get Salacious. You can get Toro. It's just there's so many good things that Vader can get. And then he also attacks for a lot. He's a big old chonkus. He's great. Maul, also at 7. He's a 7/6, ambush and overwhelm. On attack, you may choose another friendly underworld unit. If you do, all combat damage that would be dealt to this unit, meaning Maul, during this attack is dealt to the chosen unit instead. Most of our guys in this deck are underworld, at least on the ground. And you know who else is underworld? Jabba. And he's got 12 health worth of butt. So Maul can attack pretty safely when Jabba is out and just deal Jabba all the damage. We love that. We got Jabba in here. Of course, it's going to be Jabba's Rancor. My sweet baby Patissa. I love Patissa. I use the Patissa playmat like all the time. This card is just a thing of beauty to me. It's a 9/9. If you control Jabba the Hutt as a leader or unit, this unit costs 1 less to play. Great. Patissa comes out a little bit earlier. When played and on attack, deal 3 damage to another friendly ground unit and 3 damage to an enemy ground unit. Again, Jabba can absorb a lot of that damage, but if we ambushed out if we ambushed out the contracted hunter, we don't feel bad about killing the contracted hunter. If we had Greedo out and Greedo already attacked, we don't feel bad about feeding Greedo to the Rancor. It's gonna be fine. I love this card so much. I love that you can get it out for early. If you can use Jabba's bounty ability, you can get it out for even less. It's just so great in a Jabba deck. And then, of course, Reinforcement Walker. It's a 6/9. Nice. When played and on attack, look at the top card of your deck. You'll either draw that card or discard it and heal 3 damage from your base. By the time you're playing this, you will have taken damage. And this is a nice way of getting some health back on your base or giving you some card draw if you're okay for health at that point. The extra cool thing is, since we are playing within command, we do have a couple of things that get us stuff back from the discards. And like we also saw, Bounty Hunter Crew gets us stuff back. We'll be able to get something back with salvage. We can get something back with command. There's a lot of options in case we need to discard stuff. All right, we got some space units. Of course, we got the TIE Fighter. It's just such a good early game card. Cartel Spacer, it's a 2/3. When played, if you control another cunning unit, exhaust an enemy unit that costs 4 or less. Great. We're likely going to have other cunning units, especially if we're playing all those bounty hunters on the ground. Scouting Headhunter, it's a 2/1 Sentinel. It just gums up the works in space so nobody can attack us while we are trying to ramp. Black Sun Starfighter, same thing. Sentinel, just gums up the works. Contracted Jumpmaster. Again, it's another Sentinel. You might be seeing a pattern here. We're just going to play as many Sentinels as we can because we need to have some protection while we are ramping. Lurking TIE Phantom. Oh my gosh. How can you not put the Lurking TIE Phantom in any villain yellow deck? It's so good. A 2/2 with Raid 2. Can't be captured, damaged, or defeated by enemy card abilities. They got to crash into it, which hopefully will be hard because we hope to have some Sentinels out. Mist Hunter, the toilet ship. On attack, if you played a bounty hunter or pilot card this phase, you may draw a card. Y'all may have seen, we've got a lot of bounty hunters. There's not a ton of pilots in this deck, but I think just with the bounty hunters alone, it will make the Mist Hunter's ability hopefully fire a little bit more, help us draw through our deck, get more cards sooner. Outlaw Corona. It is a capital ship for 3, which we can play with Piett on turn 1. Love getting a 3/5 in space. Yes, it's got a bounty of making someone else ramp. We don't like that part, but everything else about that 3/5 in space immediately. Yes, sign me up, please. Sanctioner's Shuttle. It's a 2/3 coordinate when played. Captures an enemy non-leader unit that costs 3 or less. I love this card. Like I keep saying, I think capture is good in Twin Suns. This one is relatively cheap for getting rid of something as long as you have coordinate on. We're going to start getting into the capital ships now, y'all. I think this is real exciting. So the MC-30 Assault Frigate, it's a capital ship. It's a 5/5 with Overwhelm and Raid 1. So it's pretty big. You can get it out for 4 with Piett. And if we can get to 4 a little bit sooner by ramping, then I think that's extra awesome. I mean, the chances of us ramping before playing this are low, but, you know, it could happen, I think. Also, if we can successfully get the Jabba bounty somehow, discount it for a little bit more, we could potentially play it for 3 resources. Really good. Corporate Light Cruiser. It's a 6-cost capital ship. It's a 4/6 with Ambush and Raid 1. Again, Piett flips at 5 resources, so you can play this after Piett flips for 4, possibly for 3 if you get the Jabba bounty. Heck yeah. This for 3 resources, so good. Gladiator Star Destroyer. It's a capital ship. It's a 5/6. When played, give a unit Sentinel for this phase, which is great. It prevents us from being attacked. It prevents us from taking damage when we have been busy trying to ramp and get these bigger things out. Again, it's something that at 6 resources we'll likely be able to say, okay, Piett can get a 2 discount. Jabba can maybe give it a discount. If all these discounts can stack and the stars align, just getting one of these capital ships out earlier is pretty good. Quasar TIE Fighter, it's another capital ship for 6. Again, potentially out as early as 3 resources. Well, 4 as little as 3 resources. 5/7 on attack, create a TIE Fighter token, which the TIEs aren't super essential. It's just, they're just like a nice little buff. You know, it's just something extra to sweeten the deal. We got the resupply carrier, the ramp ship. It's a 4/5. When played, you may put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. This is great. You flip Piett on 5. You play the resupply carrier for 4 resources. All of a sudden, you are now ramped to 6. You are that much closer to getting Jabba out on your next turn. I love that. Radiant 7. It's another capital ship. It's a 5/6. Each enemy non-leader unit gets -1/-0 for each damage on it. When played, deal 5 indirect damage to a player. This is great. So we can get this out with 4 resources, potentially. Realistically, we get it out for 5 resources, deal a bunch of damage, and then hopefully debuff a bunch of somebody's stuff. And then it's a 5/6. It's great. The Arc-Hitten's Assault Cruiser. Oh, man, now we're talking. Okay, so it's a 7/8. It's a capital ship. It's got Ambush. When it attacks and defeats a non-leader unit, there's going to be no shortage of non-leader units on the board. Put the defeated unit into play as a resource under your control. I don't think this works against token ships, unfortunately. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, because I think tokens are just gone from the game once they're defeated. So don't attack into somebody's X-Wing. But anything else, you're going to feel really good at ambushing, stealing it, and continuing the ramp assault. Because we're going to need all the resources we can get. Because, yeah, we've got a bunch of other Tonkases in here. We've got the Chimera, which is maybe one of the weaker triangles. But it's still an 8/7. It's shielded. On attack, name a card. An opponent reveals their hand and discards a card with that name from it. This is one of those, let's play nice with everyone else at the table. We can get some information. We can use this to get rid of stuff. You still get to see somebody's hand too. So it's not the worst thing in the world. That if you're playing this at a discount, if you're playing this for 6 or maybe 5 resources, I think it's still totally worth it. Is it good? Is it as good as the Avenger? No. But it's still cool. Come on, guys. There's only so many capital ships. Okay, we got the Relentless. It is an 8/8. The first event played by each opponent each round loses all abilities, so we'll likely be able to play it for 7, possibly for 6. I mean, if we have Jabba out and everything lines up, we might be able to play it for as little as 5, which would be super cool. And then this one doesn't really make you any friends at the table, but I think its ability is super cool. Like just blanking the first event somebody plays, each person plays each round. Heck yeah. Devastator. Ugh, the Devastator. So we can play it for 8, probably, or 7, or maybe even 6 resources. 10/10, Sentinel, Overwhelm. When played, you may deal damage to a unit equal to the number of resources you control. That's a very command sort of thing, is dealing damage equal to resources, dealing damage equal to something else. It's never straightforward how much damage you get from something. This thing is great. It just can totally nuke some other big unit on the board. We can potentially get it out a little bit earlier. And if we're lucky enough to have the Piett unit, then boom, we get to ambush it out. That would be awesome. The Executor, Might of the Empire. It's a super Star Destroyer, y'all. It's a 12/12 for 11. Probably get it out for 9. Maybe get it out for 8 or maybe even 7. It has Overwhelm, and you get a whole bunch of TIE fighters whenever you do something with it, basically. So, like, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to get to the point when we can get these big old honking ships out. It's possible. It is possible with this deck if we believe hard enough, if we can get a couple of our ramp cards to go off. And then the Finalizer, Might of the First Order. It's an 11/11 for 11. Possibly play it for 9. Possibly play it for 8 or even 7. It has Overwhelm. When played, choose any number of friendly units. Each of those units captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. So we can get rid of a lot of problem things with this card if we are able to get it out. And thanks to our double discount Jabba Piett combo, we might actually be able to get there. Those are all of our cool units. So what have we got for events? Well, we've got Salvage, or as I've been unfortunately referring to it as Hector Salvage. Look, I watched a lot of Naked Gun movies when I was a kid. Like, we all, had questionable taste as children. It's a 0 cost. Play a vehicle unit from your discard pile, paying its cost, then deal the damage to it. If Piett is deployed, he can give you a discount on a capital ship from your discard pile. If you collected the Jabba bounty, Jabba doesn't care either where things come from. It just says the next unit you play this phase costs that much less. So, like, Jabba didn't get to be a crime lord by asking questions, okay, y'all? So, as long as we can get Piett deployed, then we can salvage something and still get a discount. I love this. Dogfight. Attack with a unit even if it's exhausted. That unit can't attack bases for this attack. That's great. A lot of these big capital ships have good on-attack abilities or have Overwhelm. Dogfight allows us to get something out at a discount. And if we somehow are lucky enough to have any resources left over, boom, Dogfight, Overwhelm with it, make a whole bunch of TIE fighters, yada yada, sky's the limit. Dogfight's awesome here. Fly Casual. So yes, it's 3, but again, I felt like it's worth paying the aspect tax for Fly Casual if you want to get a little bit more out of some undercosted capital ship, if you have the resources, or maybe if you just need to kill something a little bit more. Like, even using this with the Outlaw Corona might not be the worst thing in the world, but yeah, it's pretty much like, yeah, we can do it with an Overwhelm ship here. We can make another TIE Fighter token. Like, there's all kinds of things that we can do with this. Is it like the best card in this deck? I don't know. You can discount it with Bib Fortuna, which is good. So you're only paying 2 for this, which I feel like is fine. And I think with any of these events, just assume that I'm using the phrase, you can use Bib Fortuna to make it 1 less. This card also is a trick, so I didn't include the Jabba unit in this deck because there weren't enough tricks that I wanted to include to make his ability to filter through the deck worthwhile. But I still felt that this one was worth it even without that in there. McClunky. Return a friendly non-leader underworld unit to its owner's hand. If you do, deal 3 damage to a unit. We have a lot of underworld units in this deck, so McClunky is going to work really well for that. If we're able to get Maul out early, swing, overwhelm, then we can just return him back, deal 3 damage to something else, play him again later. Heck yeah. Recruit. Search the top 5 cards of your deck for a unit, reveal it, and draw it. This is great if we are at a point where, oh, we're looking for Masa Meta early game. We're looking for Super Laser Tech. We're looking for Tech and or DJ. We're looking for a giant ship because we've maybe ramped. Like, this is such a versatile card for what this deck is doing. I absolutely love it. Shoot first. Attack with a unit. Gets +1/+0 for this attack. Deals combat damage before the defender. This keeps our bounty hunters alive and ready to bounty hunt more. And if this ensures that we can collect the Jabba bounty, then it basically pays for itself. And also, it's thematic, especially if we're using it with Greedo. Okay. Bamboozle. You may discard a cunning card from your hand. Instead of paying this event's cost, exhaust a unit, return each upgrade on it to owner's hand. Again, this defeats pilot leaders. This exhausts something at less cost to you. And maybe we're going to play the... maybe we have the bounty hunter crew. Maybe we're okay discarding a yellow event because we can get it back with this. Or maybe we already have salvage in our hand, so we are okay discarding the Chimera or the Radiant 7, for example. So there's ways of making Bamboozle work without having to pay for it, which we don't want to pay 4 resources for this card. We want to discard to make this work. Jump to Lightspeed. Return a friendly space unit and any number of non-leader upgrades on it to their owner's hands. The next time you play a copy of that unit this phase, you may play it for free. So we, of course, have Sneak Attack and Triple Dark Raid in here, which I will get to in a moment. Jump to Lightspeed basically says we can use those. We can use one of these undercosts something, but also either kills it or returns it to our hand, and say, no, we'll bring it in ready. We can attack with it. Then we can return that to hand and then play it again for free. And when it gets returned to hand, it isn't subject to whatever Sneak Attack or Triple Dark Raid is trying to do. We just get it to stay out. And if it has any comes into play effects, well, then those will happen again, and it's going to be awesome. I really like the inclusion of this card in here along with the cheat stuff out things because, again, once Piett is flipped over, he just makes capital ships cost less, and Jabba's bounties just say things cost less. So if we can get these discounts combined, or we don't necessarily even need to combine them to make this work really well, I think that Jump to Lightspeed can be great at keeping our big stuff out and viable for subsequent turns. Prepare for takeoff. Search the top 8 cards of your deck for up to 2 vehicle units, reveal them, and draw them. Again, this is like we're looking for those capital ships in our deck because we've gotten to a point where we can play them with the engine that we have built up here. Sneak Attack. Play a unit from your hand. It costs 3 less and enters play ready at the start of the regroup phase. Defeat it. Again, once Piett is deployed, this says play a capital ship from your hand. It costs 5 less and enters play ready. If you've collected a Jabba bounty and Piett is deployed, this says play a unit from your hand. It costs 6 less and enters play ready. If you have Bib Fortuna, you pay 1 to get a 6 discount on something if the stars all line up. Sneak Attack can be so incredibly impactful with the way that we can stack our discounts. And if you can jump to Lightspeed after you play it, then boom, you Sneak Attack, you attack with the thing, you jump to Lightspeed, you bring it back to your hand, then you play it later. Everyone loves it. Everyone is friends with you at the table. Relentless Pursuit. Y'all knew this card was going to be in here. I think at this point, it's pretty obvious how much I love Relentless Pursuit. Choose a friendly unit. It captures an enemy non-leader unit that costs the same as or less than it. If the friendly unit is a bounty hunter, give a shield token to it. So either we use Relentless Pursuit with one of our bounty hunters in the early game, or we just use it with one of our big Chonkus ships later on because they're going to cost more than like anything. Resupply. Of course, resupply is in here. Put this event into play as a resource. Boom. And the cool thing about resupply, if we can get tech out, we can smuggle resupply in for 5 resources, which means we play resupply, it replaces itself with the top card of the deck, and then puts another card, but then puts itself back. It's just smuggle in conjunction with this is ridiculous. Take captive. A friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. It's just more removal. It's more of that command style removal that's situational, but still gets the job done. Triple Dark Raid. Oh my gosh. Search the top 7 cards of your deck for a vehicle and play it. It costs 5 less and enters play ready. Return to owner's hand at the end of the phase. So again, if Piett is already deployed, we can say search the top 7 cards of your deck for a vehicle and play it. If that's a capital ship, it will cost 7 less. If you collected the Jabba bounty, it'll cost 8 less. If you played this card with Bib Fortuna, it costs 2 to make it cost okay, it costs 2 to make it cost 8 less. This is like, if all of these things line up, you can get things out for super cheap, which is just so cool. Oh my gosh. I totally understand why a triple Dark Raid shot up in price, because with Piett, it is like your ticket to flavor country. Oh my God. Love it. Waylay. Return a non-leader unit to its owner's hand. This can be one of your things. If you've got bounty hunters that you ambushed out and then you want to get them all fresh and ready to go for next time, boom, waylay it, get it back, play it again. Or this is a tempo hit to someone else. You've been ramping, someone else has been playing units, bam, you get to play that unit again. Nope, nope, nope. Waylay is great. I think it complements our command style play in this deck. And speaking of which, we got command. It's 4 double green, choose 2 in any order, give 2 experience tokens to a unit. A friendly unit deals damage equal to its power to a non-unique enemy unit. Put this event into play as a resource, return a unit from your discard pile to your hand. So maybe we had to discard something for Bamboozle. Maybe somebody bezined us and took triple Dark Raid out of our hand. Well, you know, we're going to be able to play command. Oh, I'm sorry. Doesn't work for events. Maybe somebody made us discard a super laser technician. This will get us our super laser technician back and ready to rock. And again, if we can get tech out, we can smuggle command in for 6 resources. Not only use it to ramp again, but also probably give some experience to something. The sky's the limit with this. There's just so much neat stuff that you can do with this card. I absolutely love it in this deck. Commandeer. Take control of a non-leader vehicle unit that costs 6 or less without a pilot on it. If you do, ready it at the start of the next regroup phase. Return that unit to its owner's hand. This just says if we haven't gotten lucky enough to get our own Chonkus units out, well, we can at least steal something temporarily from someone else, probably crash it into somebody else's thing, and it's a tempo hit for likely 2 people at the table. I think Commandeer is great if you think of it as a removal card rather than a we're going to base and doing damage. But depending on what your hand looks like, this could be a good do some damage to someone's base. And since that unit's going back to their other person's hand at the start of the next regroup phase, then it's not going to be able to do a whole lot for at least another turn anyway. Overwhelming Barrage. It's such a classic green villain card. Give a friendly unit +2/+2 for this phase. Then it deals damage equal to its power, divided as you choose among any number of other units. So if you get out Patissa, and the next turn you play Overwhelming Barrage on Patissa, that is 11 damage that you're splitting up amongst things. That's a lot of stuff. The power of Overwhelming Barrage is that you get to pick where all the damage goes, unlike, say, indirect damage or blue removal, which is more like, oh, we just kill the thing. This is like, oh, well, we need this amount of damage to kill this amount of damage to kill this. This can do that, assuming we have the resources to pay for it. Evacuate. Return each non-leader unit to its owner's hand. It costs 6. Why is this in here? Well, it's if all we've done is ramp for a few turns and everyone else is amassing a freaking army, then evacuate just says, nope, out of here, gone. Let's level the playing field. Yeah, sure, they'll have their leaders out, but anything else is going to be gone. So that means the most anybody can have out at that point is 2 units that are their leaders. I think this is really cool because it says we're not going to be penalized for spending all this time ramping, and maybe after we play this, then we can spend a little bit of time, be like, okay, I can play Salacious, I can play that Walker, we can heal a little bit and get ready to play the real big stuff now that we've cleared the board. Palpatine's Return. This is another one of those play from a discard pile cards. Play a unit from your discard pile. It costs 6 less. If it's a force unit, it costs 8 less instead. So this gets you Vader or Maul from your discard for 6 resources, which is nice. But it also, if Piett is deployed, it gives you a discount on capital ships from your discard pile. So it still says you pay 6, it costs 6 less, but it also says you pay 6, it costs 8 less if Piett is deployed. So you can still get that discount on something and get out something large if you have the resources. If you have 7 resources, you can get something that costs 9 out. If you have the Jabba bounty, if you have Bib Fortuna, then you pay 5 resources to get something. You pay 5 resources to get an 8 resource discount on a capital ship. This is great. Again, the discounts, they all stack. And speaking of discounts, oh, yeah, of course this is in here. Of course Galactic Ambition is in here. I really wanted to put Close the Shield Gate in this deck, but it just wasn't working, unfortunately. Galactic Ambition. Play a non-heroism unit from your hand for free. Deal damage to your base equal to its cost. So this can potentially, maybe hurt you a whole lot. But if you have the board state to absorb that, I think it can be okay. Maybe you will play, you're going to use it to play one of these big things if you can't seem to get the resources out. I think Architans is a reasonable thing to play with this. I mean, it is 8 damage to your base, so that's not nothing. Reinforcement Walker is fine because that will immediately get you at least a 3 heal. So there's ways of kind of working around this. And is this like a good card all the time? Well, no, but I think it's still worth having in here in case you have no other options for getting your big stuff out. And you're just like, oh, no, I need to get the Devastator out. It needs to happen. And let's not forget, if you can get the Piett unit out, it'll give this big thing that you're playing ambush, which will be awesome. Yeah, of course. Endless Legions. All I've done is talk about ramp. Are we going to get to Endless Legions? I mean, it's unlikely, but oh my gosh, it could happen. This is like the most JankTech of JankTech cards following in Galactic Ambition. So it's 14, double green. Reveal any number of resources you control. Play each unit revealed this way for free, 1 at a time. So assuming you can get to 14 resources, which I don't think is going to happen short of getting our kittens out after you've already ramped and then probably attacking with it several times. But if you can do that, this just says, oh, you resourced all those big capital ships? Well, now you get to play them all for free. Oh, yeah. So this is especially satisfying, say, if you had both the finalizer and the executor there. So, oh, you get the executor out, you make a bunch of TIE fighters, then you play the finalizer and you capture at least 5 things in space. I think that's awesome. It's just, will this card see play? I think it's more likely that you're going to resource it and not use it, but on the off chance you can make it work, it'll be like the coolest thing ever. I don't think anyone's going to let you get to 14, but it could happen given the right circumstances in this deck. Okay, we got some upgrades. Strategic Acumen, attached unit gains action. Play a unit from your hand. It costs 1 less. So again, it's another find a way to stack discounts once Piett is deployed kind of card. We got Death Star Plans. When attached unit is attacked, the attacking player takes control of this upgrade and attaches it to a unit they control. Attached unit gains. The first unit you play each round costs 2 less. If we can get away with sticking the Death Star Plans on something once Piett is deployed, oh my gosh. So 2 less with Death Star Plans, 2 less with Piett, possibly 1 less with Jabba. What if we can triple Dark Raid or sneak attack? Like, these all just add in together with each other. And even if that doesn't work and the stars don't align, this causes chaos at the table and everyone will be attacking whatever has the Death Star Plans. And this is going to be a good old time for everyone. Legal Authority. Of course, Legal Authority is in here. It is such a command type card. Attached to a friendly unit. When played, attached unit captures an enemy non-leader unit with less power than it. We're hoping to have like kind of more powerful units in this deck. Even the bounty hunters, I think, have a pretty good amount of power for their cost. So giving them legal authority is a pretty good way of getting rid of other stuff. Price on your head. Of course, price on your head is here. Attached unit gains bounty. Put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. So we absolutely want to play this when we can be sure that we can collect it. We do not want anyone else getting price on your head. It's just another way for us to ramp and hopefully collect it and do it as quickly as possible. A lot of times with bounties, I feel a little bit more laissez-faire about, okay, it just causes chaos on the table. This is great. The ones in this deck, it's like, no, we want price on your head to fire like all the time. So do what you can to make sure no one else gets this. Super heavy ion cannon attached to a capital ship or transport. In this case, probably capital ships. Exhaust leader gains. On attack, you may exhaust a non-leader unit the defending player controls. If you do, deal indirect damage equal to its power to that player and +0/+3. Like, my dudes, if we can get a capital ship out early and stick the super heavy ion cannon, that is just going to obliterate stuff. I am super pumped about this card. I think it's real cool in this deck, given all of our capital ships. So we'll see how well that works. And lastly, Unrefusable Offer. Come on, of course we got Unrefusable Offer. Oh my gosh. So Unrefusable Offer, if you really want to be a jerk, you play on someone else's super laser technician, which I think is just the best. I think this card is one of those, it's always like a rules dispute card when it comes out. It's unfortunate that Spare the Target doesn't work with Unrefusable Offer, but I think otherwise it works basically like how it sounds. Attached to a non-leader unit, attached unit gains bounty. Play this unit for free under your control. It enters play ready. At the start of the regroup phase, defeat it. So what does this mean exactly? Well, obviously super laser technician. Oh my gosh. Because you can essentially take someone else's super laser technician with Unrefusable Offer. But otherwise, it's just kind of like this makes everybody kind of scramble and disrupts tempo in this game, which I think is super good. I like causing chaos, and this is a great way to cause chaos. All right, and that is it. That is the Bounty Hunters. We actually do need that scum deck. This one's weird. I mean, it is a double green deck for sure, with its emphasis on trying to ramp and deal with resources. But I feel like it is very much also a yellow deck in the way that it goes for a lot of trickery. It's got a lot of underworld stuff. I am so excited to get this one played a bunch. I'm waiting on one of the cards in the mail. And at that point, I am just going to be trying to play this one all the time because Jabba is one of my favorite leaders from Shadows. I liked Shadows a lot. It was like thematically a set that I enjoyed a lot more than Twilight. I think I'm in the minority there, but you know, what are you going to do? Anyway, I really like the idea of the super ramp. What do y'all think? What would you do different in this deck? Of course, Boba Fett should be in there. Maybe the Jabba unit, but I'd love to see someone else's spin on this because I think this is a neat combo. That's one of those relies on your ability to sweet talk everyone and be very careful with your turns and resources, and oh my gosh, have to do math all the time. Yikes. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for me with this one. Be on the lookout for my last of the double aspect week decks coming soon, as well as the how to make budget decks, as well as the revamped 80 card learn to play decks. We got so much going on, not to mention I'm going to get some more Twin Suns recorded soon. So thanks for watching these. Thanks for talking. We've had so many people commenting. Thanks for liking and subscribing. We've had so many new subscribers. This is awesome. So that's going to do it for me. Until then, let's do this again sometime.